at the moment. Welcome to our first post-cabinet briefing of 2023. I think it would be amiss to start, Mr. Minister, without thanking members of the media sincerely for the journey of the last 2 weeks, your interest in State of the Nation address, in being available to field so many interviews and interactions with members of the executive and other stakeholders. Thank you very much for that. It's quite a broad sense of SONA coverage. And then secondly, thank you very much to those of you who've shown interest in the national state of disaster and the floods, sharing information, tips, what people must do and not do. It's very, very useful. Your role has been very valuable, also in helping save lives. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me invite the Minister in the Presidency, Mr. Mondli Gungubele, to provide you with the statement and feedback from yesterday's Cabinet meeting. Minister, good morning and welcome to you. Over to you, sir.
I can sit here. Oh, thank you. Yeah, caring media. You know, I used to run a Comrades Marathon. I'm used to moving around. Good morning, colleagues. To the media, thank you for, as usual, as I've kept on saying, for responding as appropriate as I could. I know Ati would have been worried about 8:30, and I said, Ati, you are young. Even if it's 7, it's okay. Thank you guys for accepting that, because our program is chock-a-block. Our program is chock-a-block. We need to get ready for the President's response this afternoon. Between that and now, there's quite a lot of other things we need to do. Without further ado, may I take this opportunity to take you through the statement that is an expression of what happened in Cabinet. On the State of the Nation address, Cabinet reaffirmed President Cyril Ramaphosa's clarion call made in his 2023 State of the Nation address for all South Africans to work together and leave no one behind as we tackle our country's pressing challenges. The President's bold measures put energy at the forefront of government's plan of action for the year to deal decisively with load shedding and secure a sustainable energy supply. Cabinet urged all sectors of society to support the initiative outlined in this SONA by the President, which are critical to sustain our efforts to reduce unemployment, poverty, and the rising cost of living, as well as combat crime and corruption. That includes load shedding. Government is determined to accelerate the work already underway to increase energy supply to national grid, and our task is to remove any impediments to that progress. In the next few weeks, cluster briefings will provide more information on government's program of action for the year ahead, as highlighted by the President in the SONA. The national budget to be presented on Wednesday, 22nd February 2023, will provide further information on government's program of action. On the African mining Indaba, Cabinet noted the outcome of the Indaba held at Cape Town International Convention Center from the 6th February to the 9th, 2023, under the theme, unquote, open quote, unlocking African mining investment, stability, security, and supply, close quote. The African mining Indaba brought together industry players from across the continent and the globe, and cemented its place as the premier mining investment conference on the continent. Mining continues to play a pivotal role in development and industrialization across the continent. It is an important contributor to job creation and retention, accounting for close to 500,000 direct jobs and close to 1 million indirect jobs in South Africa. Mining production in South Africa last year reached a record high of 1.18 trillion boosting our gross domestic product, exports and revenue. Cabinet calls on all role players in the industry to continue working with government to realize a globally competitive industry that boosts economic growth, creates jobs, and drives sustainable development. On the floods, Cabinet expressed its condolences to the families who have lost loved ones in the recent devastating floods, which hit several parts of our country. We thank our emergency and rescue services across the country who have worked tirelessly to save lives. Let us come together as a nation and offer assistance to those who are in desperate need of care and support. That's the Cabinet's view. Cabinet urged people to stay indoors in case of heavy rain and stormy weather, and reminded those who live in low-lying areas to take extra caution. People are cautioned not to walk, swim, or drive through fast-moving flood water or cross flooded roads, bridges, and rivers. Cabinet urged members of the public to ensure that children are always safe from drowning during floods. On the gun violence, Cabinet expresses condolences to the family and friends of hip-hop artist Mr. Keenan Forbes, particularly known as AKA, and celebrity chef Mr. Tibelo Mutswane, who were recently gunned down in Durban. Cabinet also expressed its sympathies to the family and friends of anti-crime activist Mr. Ayop Mungali, who was recently shot dead at Eldorado Park in Johannesburg. He was the national director of the People Seeking Justice Action Group, a movement which mobilized community members to take a stand against gangsterism and drug dealing. Cabinet expressed condolences to the families and friends of those killed in recent mass shootings in the Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Eastern Cape. These heinous and cold-blooded attacks, which are being investigated by law enforcement authorities, highlight the prevalence of gun violence and its impact in the communities. Cabinet reassures South Africans that South African Police Service is being strengthened to prevent crime. This includes putting more police on the streets and setting up specialized teams that will focus on specific types of crime. South Africa will also use data-driven methods in a more sophisticated way to identify and target crime hotspots. The SAPS is intensifying operations to detect and remove illegal firearms and ammunition from the hands of criminals. The police have in the past 12 months permanently removed 65,519 firearms from circulations. Although we accept more still needs to be done in this area. Government calls on all citizens and community structures to work together with their local SAPS to drive crime out of communities. If you have information that can help expose people involved in illegal activities, call Crime Stop at 0800 10 111. That's an old number which all of us, I think, we know. On the Indok-Ngijima local municipality, the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Nkosazana Dlamini and Finance Minister Otto Godongwana briefed Cabinet on recent consultative engagements held with the key role players and stakeholders in the Indok-Ngijima Municipal Local Authority. In April 2022, Cabinet approved an intervention in this municipality in terms of Section 139, subsection 7 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa of 1996, read together with Section 150 of Municipal Finance Management Act 2003. The Indok-Ngijima municipality had been experiencing significant financial and service delivery failures for a long time before the intervention. Cabinet expressed its appreciation of the serious issues identified by stakeholders and has assured residents of this municipality that a decision on how to address the municipality's current challenges would be communicated soon. On the safety at schools, School safety in South Africa remains a top priority for government, and reports of violence between learners and educators are a serious cause for concern. I beg your pardon. While the Department of Basic Education has put measures or mechanisms in place to combat this scourge, it is the responsibility of parents and guardians, together with all of us, including government, to collaborate with school authorities and learners to ensure that schools remain safe places for our learners to develop and become responsible citizens. The safety of our educators at school is also of paramount importance. Road safety. Cabinet remains concerned at the extent of road carnage across the country. Government will be exploring new laws to curb truck crashes, one of which includes moving cargo from road to rail, in the hope that this will take pressure off road freight. Cabinet appeals to all road users to obey the rules of the road by being vigilant, considerate, and patient towards other road users. Drivers under the influence of alcohol or drugs, as well as reckless and negligent driving, including speeding, are responsible for most road accidents. In the area of bills, on the OneStop border post bill of 2022, Cabinet approved the OSPP bill for public comments. The bill follows approval of the OSPP policy and its implementation strategy in March 2022. It seeks to harmonize the movement of people and goods between South Africa, land ports of entry, and its neighboring countries. This will alleviate current congestions at our land ports of entry for cross-border travelers and traders. These interventions are also key in the country's efforts in driving the African Continental Free Trade Area. The agreement envisioned in the bill will ensure that processing of goods, vehicles, and people is seamless and fast. The bill also responds to relevant international legal instruments that relate to trade facilitation and movements of the people and goods. The OneStop border policy bill is about integrating all the services that people are supposed to receive so that they are processed across the border, instead of having parallel centers and so on. We are anxious that it gets implemented very soon to actually ensure that the movement along the border is actually smoother than it has been. On the National Identification and Registration Bill of 2022, Cabinet approved the publication of National Identification and Registration Bill of 2022 for public comments. This bill gives effect to official identity management policy and seeks to provide a single, inclusive, and integrated digital national identification system for all people who live or have lived in the country. The draft bill will provide for the combination and maintenance of population register for citizens and permanent residents. It further provides for the creation of an identification database for certain foreigners who sojourn temporarily in the country. It also provides for a biometric national identity system that will enable a single view of person by providing for particulars to be included in population register and the identification database. The NIS will also be able to interface with other government and private sector identity systems. Both the OSPP OneStop Border Policy Bill of 2022 and National Identification and Registration Bill of 2022 will be published in the Department of Home Affairs website, which is www.dha.gov.za. Members of public are encouraged to submit written comments to the following address: Director General of Home Affairs, Private Bag 114, Pretoria 0001, telephone 012 406 4353. On the upcoming events, the African Union being one of those, President Cyril Ramaphosa will attend the 36th ordinary session of the Assembly of the Heads of State Government of the AU to be held from 18 to 19 February in Addis Ababa. The AU Assembly, which will be held under the theme Open Code, Acceleration of AFTA implementation, will be preceded by the 42nd ordinary session of the Executive Council from the 14th to the 16th. In other words, the sessions that will precede is the Executive Council from the 15th to the 16th, before the head of states come together. The head of state and government of the AU will use the theme to reaffirm their commitment to full implementation of African Continental Free Trade Area. State visit by the President of Uganda, His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda will undertake a state visit to our country on Tuesday, 28 February 2023, at the invitation of his counterpart, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa. The purpose of the state visit is to consolidate bilateral relations between the two countries. It will culminate in the business forum to explore trade and investment contacts between the two countries. On the 2023 Southern African Development Community Media Awards, Cabinet reminds all media that entries into this media awards, which closes on Tuesday, 28 February 2023, all those entries are open to all journalists from SADC member states. SADC Media Awards recognizes best media work in the areas of print, photo, television, and radio in dissemination information on SADC to support the process of regional cooperation and integration in the region. In the area of congratulations, Cabinet extended its congratulations and well wishes to Nomcebo Zikode, Zakes Bantwini, and Walter Kellerman for winning Best Global Music Performance for their song Bayete at the 65th Annual Grammy Awards. In the area of condolences, Cabinet expressed condolences to the family and friends of the people who died recently when a bus collided with a cash-in-transit vehicle in the N1 highway in Limpopo. Cabinet wished those injured in the accident a speedy recovery. John Wood, at an age of 56, the former Bafana Bafana and Orlando Pirates player, was an integral part of 1996 Africa Cup of Nations winning team. Cabinet also expressed condolences to the government and people of Turkey and Syria, who suffered large-scale loss of life and vast damage to social and economic infrastructure following a severe earthquake on the 6th February 2023, measuring 7.8 on the Richter scale. Our hearts go out to families who have lost loved ones or are searching for relatives. Cabinet commends the South African Humanitarian Aid Organization, which has joined the international response. Cabinet applauded the South African Police Service K9 unit members whose brave efforts, among others, resulted in the rescue of an 8-year-old woman who survived under the rubble for over 8 days in Turkey. Lastly, on the appointments, all appointments are subject to verification of qualification and relevant clearance. We congratulate those subject to them passing all those processes. Ms. Azola Mayekiso as Chief Executive Officer of the National Housing Finance Corporation, Mr. Lucas Tabiso Titi as Deputy Director General, Institutional Development and Support in the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, Ms. Boitumelo Musako as CEO of Development Bank of Southern Africa, Mr. Kabelo Rikotso as Executive Director of the Public Investment Corporation, Mr. Matsimela Muloi as the Registrar of the Road Traffic Infringement Agency, Advocate Sonwabile Mangojo is non-executive director and the chairperson of the Cross-Border Road Transport Agency Board. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, just guide me. Are you fielding the questions? Who's looking online to give me the online questions? So let's start. And please, will you be kind enough? I'm only getting to learn names for now, so will be kind enough just to introduce yourself in the media house, the colleague there, the gentleman, the colleague in the centre, and then the gentleman from ENCA. Okay, let's start there. And let me just have a quick look. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 for now. Okay, thank you very much. Let's start the extreme left, please. Lulama.
Can we see Lulama Maja?
Lulama has got a camera.
We want to see Lulama. We want to see whether you are smiling or angry.
Minister, as the cabinet was discussing SONA, did you discuss the chaotic scenes that we witnessed during the SONA, and what's your take? Did the cabinet feel that the president was in danger when the FF members stormed the podium? And secondly, today the president is replying to the debate. As the cabinet, I'm concerned that there's a possibility of chaos erupting again. And lastly, as you were mentioning appointments, I was hoping to hear the appointment of the SAPC board. What's the latest on that? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lulama. Gentlemen?
Good morning, Minister. Jason Felix, News 24. Just one question from my side. Was there any talk on any cabinet reshuffle and also the appointments to the vacancies within the cabinet?
Where is the person who's asking this question? Okay. Reshuffle.
Felix, yeah. Okay, in the middle.
Thank you so much. My name is Atim Tumana from Newsroom Africa. I think my colleagues have covered me, but I do have one more question, which is around the topical issue of Tottenham Hotspurs. Was it an issue that was discussed in cabinet, given the fact that it was also discussed in a parliamentary portfolio committee? Was it even mentioned in the cabinet meeting?
Thank you very much. And then, Adiba.
Thank you so much. I'm very my colleagues have covered a lot of the questions, but National State of Disaster, Minister, was it discussed in terms of when we'll see the end of load shedding, seeing that the disaster is implemented now, and when the Minister of Electricity and the Presidency will be appointed? When it comes to crime, then, Minister, is government conceding that it's actually failing, given what we're seeing almost on a daily basis, but certainly a weekly basis, gunning down of even young people, you know? It's a regular occurrence in the country, and what we're seeing from government is just, condolences that we've actually heard today, but no real action. We still want to know, for example, what happened to Nam Tamtwa, as promises were made back then that government was on a solid route or solid foundation, but still we don't know. Is government conceding that it's failing when it's coming to crippling crime?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sorry, Minister, just to be clear, can I just be told who will give the online ones? Liesel, can you please help me?
Yes, I will be doing it, but there's no online questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Minister.
Thank you very much. I thought of no work this morning. It seems I have to work. Lulama. Listen, there are certain things that are part of Parliament. The only worrisome thing, Lulama, is when they stretch and border on undermining the security in that precinct. A lot of theatrics that happen in Parliament, you will never be able to stop them. But I know people would have said there was no There are those who were bold enough to say there was no threat. You know, when you get to the stage where the head of the state is sitting, the security are not necessarily hired on the basis whether they are prophets or not. They observe circumstances. They have got a duty to either react or proact. So we leave that with them. Where I'm sitting, I just want to say to you up front, there's a lot of surprises that occurred there. I thought EFF was leaving. Even myself, I was taken by surprise that they found themselves in the stage. Now the question I'm asking, if even myself, I was surprised by seeing them getting into the stage, I was not sure what other surprise would occur. So police act to make sure that the security, and I think General South Africa is happy with the way police have acted in that manner. And of course, we will always protect the freedom of expression in Parliament. People don't have to challenge government in the manner prescribed by government. They don't have to smile, they can frown, and they say sometimes we're stupid. We've never fought about that. Says we're dumb, somebody said we are not intelligent. We're not worried about those issues because they are allowed. But in South Africa there's a limitation of rights, and security is a very critical matter. Imagine if they were allowed with the hope that they are peaceful, and anything anticipated happened, a different story would be told. I think police opted to err on the side of caution. Possibility of chaos today, you will never be able to predict parliamentary chaos. And of course, we're following developments. The key thing is to get ready if it happens. It must be contained. It must be within the acceptable prescripts. And we cannot say it's not going to happen, but we stay on the alert. And Parliament has demonstrated to be on top of that, especially the security cluster. SABC, that is in the purview of the President. Once the Parliament has done its work, it goes straight to the President. And the President is entitled to look at this because he is not a rubber stamper. When it comes to him, he must analyze it. I'm not sure sometimes if he's able to take it back to Parliament or something like that. I do not know. But we leave that with the President, and we hope the President at the right time will take the decision. Philip, this is a commonest question I don't escape every day. It's either it's on Twitter or it's during coffee time. and I keep on saying, if the President is going to reshuffle, he's going to reshuffle amongst ministers. And Philip, I'm one of the ministers. I'm part of the object of reshuffle. So can you imagine the President sitting down with me saying, Minister, how do you think I should do this? Actually, can we appreciate that? That issue is always preserved for the head of the President, no other head. The hotspot issue, that matter is between the minister concerned and the office of the President. We hope we'll be updated on it as it goes ahead. It's a matter that we don't think is not going to be resolved. Disaster. We have said that all the time. We are working towards ending load shedding tomorrow or this afternoon. But our immediate concern now is that we must stabilize load schedule, huh? Stages. At least they must go to, we hope to sustain them at a low level. Yesterday, if I slept, it was 3. I checked today, yes, it's about 3. The immediate thing is to reduce them to a low level as we organize all means of opening energy into the grid. We've already said those who attended the president briefing, President Mr. Rudy Dix would have presented what he calls a roadmap to end load shedding. There's a possibility of ending it in a year if certain things do happen. So in other words, we are careful of saying on this date, but we are confident, not too long, we'll deal with the load shedding. Especially now, the state of disaster is going to assist us in the following. One, to make sure that we are allowed to execute speedily, no onerous processes, yet within the law. That's why the president has also called the real time by the AG. And I want, before that question is asked, by the way, there's point people say, no, there was AG during the PPE. But people don't say there was AG during Eastern Cape, KZN, and Northwest. You don't have a story there. AG was getting closer, and I think the system got educated by how the AG dealt with PPE. Once the AG comes here now, AG, in my view, has found better ways of keeping line of sight on all these things. And we must commend the AG in as far as KZN, Eastern Cape, and Northwest is concerned. Millions were deployed there. Naturally, thieves would always be salivating when that opportunity is. The fact that we don't hear a scandal, it means somebody did something. AG, working together with the oversight team of government, would have done that. So that's the first issue. The second issue is on the disaster. The president would have said that disaster is to make sure that we minimize its impact in particular areas. He spoke about food storage, spoke about fridge and retail supply, spoke about a lot of other sectors. It includes being able, where we see that there's a huge detriment, that even being able to drive generators to that area without following all these processes, but still, because when we say we don't follow normal processes, it doesn't mean outside the law. You change the restrictions to actually respond to the situation. And the president spoke about even the possibility of exempting places like water treatment and hospitals from this protocol. So, in other words, disaster deals with speedy resolution, at the same time dealing with impact. The date, of course, we are not going to come with it. And the date of the minister of UN, we are not going to tell you, no. But what we know, NICOM and all of us are at work now on a daily basis. Tomorrow you'll be getting a briefing. We have actually tried to make sure that on a weekly basis you get a briefing on the state of load shedding and where are we. Do we accept that we're failing on crime? All I can say, we accept that we're not doing well everywhere. But recently, remember what the president did when he came. It was reinforcement of the NPA, reinforcement of the justice system in general, reinforcement of the police, and actually putting money where the mouth of the president is. If you check recently, if you follow the stats, the rates of arrest have increased in South Africa. A lot of kingpins are being taken to jail. We hope that will sustain, and we hope we'll find a way around the issue of crime. Otherwise, it's disturbing all of us because it's undermining the socio-economic environment so that our people have access to work. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. Can I, before I take the gentleman at the back, Ms. Paul, online, Lisa?
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. My question is on behalf of Tando from Business Day. She asked the question as follows. During the COVID-19 state of disaster, the Cabinet reprioritized around 500 billion rand of the state funds to go towards cushioning the population against the pandemic. How much of the state funds can we expect to be reprioritized to go towards the state of disaster for the energy crisis? that is turned from business day.
Thank you. Thanks, Liesl. And is that the only one online?
That is the only one.
Yeah, learn how to interface it. Paul?
Good morning,
Sorry, before I give Paul a chance, is there anybody else? Because I think short of that, I'm not going to take another round. We're a little bit tight in the diary today. So, Paul, I see the hand of a follow-up from the gentleman from ENC, Aliwe. And short of a last one coming in online, that'll be it. Thank you, Paul.
Good morning, Minister. Paul Beckiot.
It's Paul.
Paul.
I know him.
Paul, your mic.
Morning, Minister. Paul Beckiot from Bloomberg's third time. The President's Cabinet briefings is to give us insight into Cabinet discussions and decisions taken. The Cabinet this week approved 3 bills, which is fairly common. You made a whole lot of appointments, but you have given us no idea of any other decisions taken by Cabinet. For instance, has some kind of decision been made over the appointments of an electricity minister? How will he or she be accommodated within the Presidency and in Cabinet? Has the President enlightened you on that? Then my next question is, the upcoming military exercises with Russia and China off Richards Bay, will any Cabinet ministers be joining that? Will the President be joining that? There is an Armed Forces Day parade in Richards Bay.
Can you start afresh on the Russian issue?
The Russian.
What are you saying about it?
The naval exercises with Russia and China, which will be off Richards Bay. Will the President and any other Cabinet ministers be going to visit those exercises to witness what they're doing? I know there's an Armed Forces Day parade in Richards Bay, but that is separate, from what I understand, to those naval exercises. Thank you.
Thank you. We're done.
So just checking if Cabinet discussed what the EFF was alleging around Peggy Pele being in cahoots with criminals, and the fact that the President was alerted to the minister's involvement in the alleged hit that was supposed to be done to Deputy President of the EFF in KwaZulu-Natal. Was that discussed in Cabinet by any chance?
Okay, thank you very much. And then I'm going to take gentleman there. Yes, please. And then Liesl, do we have anything else on that? No. Okay, last hand to the gentleman on the left. If you will introduce yourself, please.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Hey,
Sorry, Mr. Green, please.
is that
Use the
Vianney?
microphone. Vianney Green. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, good morning, Minister. I'm Vianney Green from SABC. Pardon me if this question has been asked. Just want to find out whether Cabinet or President raised the issue of the SABC board, why he has not appointed the SABC board, because the Broadcasting Act is very explicit, does not give him any discretion, says he must, on advice of the National Assembly, and the National Assembly has advised him. Is there any rationale why he has not done so? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Minister, let's take.
Thank you very much. Let's start at the tail here. We've dealt with that question. And I'm trying to listen to your question. There's nothing we can add. If your question was actually making us to add anything, we'd try. Where do we start? Okay, COVID-19. Well, we are not going to go to Tando Business Day. It's difficult for me to know now. You see, for instance, when the regulations are put in place, everything is put in place. It indicates once we've got a state of disaster, it indicates rights and responsibilities. And it's also going to indicate the government responsibilities. And what you allocate and what you don't, it falls in there. That is not in my purview. I think Treasury will guide in as far as that one is concerned. We are unable to say how much will be lent. depending on the obligations that actually emanate from this declaration, that then will determine. Well, I guess Paul wants us to speak again about, because the date, the date we're not going to give you, but at least I'm sure you want us to keep on again saying what is the role. We're going to keep on doing this. Can I say this again? And I've said this several times. If people read and followed what the president said in his speech, the president would have said, electricity finds itself reporting to so many institutions, both technically and politically. And there are decisions that technical people want to take. A number of times amongst technical people, it's usually easy to find one another. But you find that a lot of the decisions they want to execute, they need a political consent. And you find that there are more political consent. Others are procedures as required by Treasury, although Treasury has gone a long way now to actually unlock that. So what the president says is that what has been exposed in terms of the institutional and structural interfaces that intervention in electricity sort of involves, the president says then it calls for restructuring, for reconfiguring. But what the president says, the electricity crisis can't wait for that. In the meantime, something has to be done in a manner that is adaptive and dealing with the weaknesses of the moment. The president has said, I will appoint a minister of electricity who will afford and close the gap of the political part of that intervention. And that minister will be empowered to take decisions on any matter that calls for response to electricity crisis. In other words, you would have improved the intervening capabilities until whatever later stage the restructuring is done. But load shedding calls for intervention, it calls for execution, that something has to be done. It can't wait for that. And we've said that several times. And I was happy, Paul, to discover that. They say between 1977 and 1945, NewZ had no less than 11 ministers of electricity. Minister Mandashi would have actually told us about Egypt, and I'm forgetting the other country and so on. But here, the Minister Mandashi has also explained that there's a need for special intervention on this matter. When is that going to be happened? It's the president who takes that decision. On the naval exercises, well, it's difficult for me to know which ministers are going to go there. Let me tell you, if I was available, I would go, because it's quite an interesting scene to watch, especially if different countries different countries come together and do that exercise. That should show that the globe is able to live in harmony together, and so on. On the issue of Peggy, of Minister Tel, I would request that we leave this with the institutions that are relevant in terms of investigating the veracity. I stand a risk of expressing how I understand it and find that I'm complicating it. So we request that let's allow relevant institution to assess and deal with the veracity of it. And thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate your time, and obviously it's the first one of the year, so Paul, I think maybe as the year unfolds, there'll be a little bit more flesh in the middle part. But thank you so much to yourself and to the folks online. I do also want to point out, Minister, my colleagues here, Koza from the Department of Home Affairs on the right here. I have interacted with the Minister. They're going to be doing a bit more elaboration on the bills and what they mean and how exciting. Please, if you could maybe pick up some of that story as well. They really do have interesting developments in these two bills, as the Minister mentioned. Thank you very much to all of you for your time, and we look forward to you in a fortnight. Thank you very much. Minister Gungubele, thank you very kindly, sir.
Thank you, and happy belated New Year. Thank you.